Now, it has been nearly 3 weeks since some 80,000 migrants crossed illegally into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta from Morocco, touching off one of Europe's worst migration crises in years. Most have since departed, but as DW's Jan-Philipp Schultz reports, many young migrants who stayed behind are facing a host of dangers.
Hundreds of children and teenagers living on the streets here in Ceuta's industrial area. One of them is this 14-year-old girl. We are calling her Amina and do not show her face for safety reasons. Authorities have told her that there was no space in any shelter. She has been here for about 2 weeks now, living in constant fear.
I have heard about sexual assaults happening here. I don't walk alone anymore. I'm afraid to be raped too.
Several underage Moroccan girls we spoke to say they have either been harassed themselves or have heard about cases of sexual assaults since they arrived. They say the worst part is that there is nowhere to go and that nowhere is safe.
We don't even have any bathrooms. When we need to use a toilet, we have to go to the surrounding fields. Once a day they bring some food, but at night we have to find a place to sleep on the floor.
Incidents of sexual abuse have been on the rise in the city. Police are investigating at least 15 cases of alleged sexual violence, and authorities assume a lot of cases are going unreported. Emergency doctor Susana Acaso tells us she has tended to several rape victims in the last few days.
Just yesterday, another 12-year-old girl came in. She said some other migrants from Morocco had been touching her inappropriately. She arrived extremely frightened and crying. She came with a woman who had found her on the street and rescued her.
At the end of July, around 80,000 migrants illegally crossed the border into Spain. Most have since left, but experts say 3,000 to 5,000 minors remain in the city. In a DW interview, Ceuta's mayor says that authorities are overwhelmed.
It's an emergency. We're exceeding our capacities by 5,000%. The miners are not adequately being taken care of.
Spain's central government plans to distribute the miners across mainland Spain, but warns it's a process that will take a lot of time. Ceuta's mayor is demanding action now. He wants Spain to return the miners to Morocco as soon as possible.
The miners must be reunited with their families or cared for by Moroccan social services that would have to assume guardianship. This is the only solution. Legal procedures must be activated that allow the return of these miners.
On Ceuta's beaches, some migrants are preparing for a long stay. Many say they do not want to go back despite their current ordeal here.
Schools in Morocco are very bad, and the level of learning is very low. But I want to have a better future one day. I want to become an architect.
Migrants say there are increasing offers from smugglers to bring them to mainland Europe. If this means they can escape the ordeal here in Ceuta, many might be taking the risk, even unaccompanied children and teenagers.
And we're joined now by Lena, Riemer, Assistant Professor of Law at Central European University, joining us from Vienna. What do these reports of sexual violence tell us about the particular vulnerability of unaccompanied migrant children in Ceuta right now?
First of all, thank you so much for bringing this very important topic on this high level of conversation. What it tells us is that it is a consistent problem how Europe deals with unaccompanied minors, especially in situations like the one in Ceuta at this very moment, where a large number of migrants enter the territory and where capacities to really assist these minors and to do justice to their needs is not met by authorities, where authorities do not comply with international and national standards, and which then leads to situations of vulnerable minors living on the streets, being prone to sexual exploitation, being housed on the open streets and suffering from severe health conditions.
Who specifically bears responsibility to protect them? Are we talking about the authorities in Ceuta, the Spanish government, Morocco, the EU?
Basically, all of the above. All the countries you mentioned are members of core international obligations. For example, there is this obligation under the UN Convention on the Rights of the Children that obliges states in all circumstances to keep the best interest of any child, irrespective of a citizen or not, in mind. So this means, in this case, both Morocco and Spain, and in extension, the authorities on the ground are all obliged by international and in Spain's context as well, EU law to support these minors. So it is really a joint effort by all these actors that you mentioned, and the law provides the framework for that.
Tell us a little bit more about the current reception conditions in Ceuta and how that compares with Spain's obligations under European and international humanitarian rights law.
Yeah, to start, maybe I'll briefly give you the frame of what states in general have to offer when it comes to unaccompanied minors. So, as I said, the best interest of the child is always the guiding principle for any kind of measure when it comes to minors, irrespective of whether they're citizens or whether they're asylum seekers. So what Spain and any state under EU law and under international has to do is that first they need to offer immediate screening. So once these minors arrive at the border, for example, and authorities notice that they are minors, they have to trigger immediate protections, meaning they have to register them and then make sure that they are receiving the care that a minor, we're talking about children, receives that is adequate according to their age. This means they cannot sleep on the streets. They have to be protected against sexual exploitation. They need immediate guardianship. This is these are core obligations under the law, and Spain here is not following through what it is supposed to do under EU law, under international law. Spain needs to ensure that all unaccompanied minors are immediately screened, identified, and then also protected in the sense of that they brought to specific housing that is adequate for minors, that is equipped to really assist children health-wise, but also that there is psychological assistance, etc., and that legal guardians are found for these children because they're minors. As any other minor around the globe, they cannot even file an asylum application, because for that you need a legal guardian who does this for you. And all of this needs to happen as immediately as possible under international and EU law. And this is where Spain really falls short at the moment.
And as you know, they are scrambling to implement those short and long-term measures. Spain and the EU authorities are now also discussing returning unaccompanied minors to Morocco. How should allegations or risks of sexual violence impact those decisions about whether an individual child can be safely returned?
Irrespective of these allegations, Spain cannot just simply return any of these minors. As I mentioned before, each individual receives an individual assessment based according on their age and their needs, their vulnerability. They need to be awarded a legal guardian, and that legal guardian then also needs to make this decision in cooperation with the minor, whether they want to lodge an application for asylum, for example. They cannot just simply be returned under any circumstances, irrespective of whether there are sexual exploitation allegations or not. Spain cannot return them simply like that. If Spain were to do that, this would be a severe violation of both EU and international law.
Does European migration policy, when you look at it more broadly, does it put right now at this time enough emphasis on child protection, or does the political priority of controlling the border sometimes conflict with safeguarding children?
I'd say this is a classical example of what we have in the books and what we see on the grounds. The law has good safeguards. All the things that I stressed before is in the law. The law states that the children need special protection, that children need to be cared for in special housing, that they need to have a legal guardian, etc. But then we see what's happening on the ground in Ceuta, for example, and elsewhere. And when situations like Ceuta occur, where large numbers of people within a short time frame enter territory, then oftentimes we see that these safekeepings in the laws do not apply in practice because oftentimes capacity is not sufficient, and this is also often a justification by the authorities used to basically say, I'm sorry, we cannot fulfill our obligations. We do not have the capacities to protect these minor children. In the case of Ceuta, I've read reports about around 4,000 unaccompanied minors now that really urgently need assistance from the Spanish authorities.
Lena Riemer joining us from Central European University. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.